installed the cameras because I thought they'd make us safer. That's what I told myself anyway. Our neighborhood had a few break-ins that summer. Nothing serious, just some kids going through unlocked cars. But it was enough to make me think about security. So I bought a smart home system. Cameras for the front door, the backyard, the living room, motion sensors. The whole setup synced to my phone. I could check in anytime from anywhere. I remember the day I finished installing them. I showed Sarah how it all worked. She smiled, nodded, said it was a good idea. She seemed fine with it, maybe a little distracted, but I didn't think much of it at the time. We'd been married for 11 years. 11 years. High school sweethearts, if you can believe that. We got married young, maybe too young, but we were in love. At least, I thought we were. We had our routines. I worked long hours as an IT consultant. She was a nurse, 3 12-hour shifts a week. We didn't see each other as much as we used to, but that's just life, right? That's what everyone says. You get busy, you grow up, you make it work. Except somewhere along the way, I stopped noticing when things changed. It started small. She'd come home from her shifts and go straight to the shower. She used to sit with me first, tell me about her day, decompress, but now she'd walk in, barely say hello, and disappear upstairs. I told myself she was tired. Nursing is exhausting. I didn't want to be that husband who made everything about himself. Then there were the late nights. She'd pick up extra shifts, or so she said. I never questioned it. Why would I? We needed the money, or at least that's what I convinced myself. But sometimes I'd text her during those shifts and she wouldn't respond for hours. When I'd ask about it later, she'd say she was swamped, couldn't check her phone. Fair enough. I didn't suspect anything. Not really. Maybe I didn't want to. One Thursday afternoon, I was sitting in a coffee shop between client meetings, killing time, scrolling through my phone. I opened the smart home app, just out of habit. I liked checking the camera sometimes, seeing our house sitting there peaceful and quiet while I was out in the world. It was comforting in a strange way. The living room camera showed nothing unusual. Empty couch, sunlight coming through the blinds, normal. Then I saw movement. Sarah walked into frame. She was supposed to be at work. Her shift didn't end until 7. It was barely 3 o'clock. I sat up straighter, staring at the screen. She wasn't alone. There was a man with her, tall, dark hair, wearing a jacket I didn't recognize. They were talking, but I couldn't hear anything. The cameras didn't have audio. I watched her laugh at something he said. She touched his arm. Not a casual touch, the kind of touch that meant something. My chest tightened. I told myself it was nothing. A coworker, maybe. Someone she worked with who needed to pick something up. Maybe she left work early. Maybe she wasn't feeling well. There were 100 explanations. But I didn't close the app. I kept watching. They sat down on the couch together. Our couch. The one we picked out 3 years ago after saving up for months because Sarah wanted something nice, something that felt like home. He sat close to her, too close. She leaned into him, and then she kissed him. I don't know how long I stared at my phone. Time stopped. Everything stopped. The coffee shop noise around me faded into nothing. I couldn't hear the espresso machine, couldn't hear the people talking. All I could see was my wife kissing another man in our living room. I should have felt angry. I should have felt something sharp and immediate, but I didn't. I just felt hollow, like someone had reached inside my chest and scooped everything out. I watched them for another minute, maybe 2, I don't know. Then I closed the app, put my phone face down on the table, stared at my coffee. My hands were shaking. I didn't know what to do. Should I call her? Confront her right then? Drive home and walk in on them? My mind was racing, but my body felt frozen. I kept thinking, maybe I misunderstood. Maybe it wasn't what it looked like. Maybe the camera angle made it seem worse than it was. But I knew. Deep down, I knew. I didn't go home. I sat in that coffee shop for another hour, maybe longer. People came and went. I didn't move. I opened the app again, checked the camera. They were still there, sitting together, talking, laughing. At one point, she rested her head on his shoulder. I felt sick. Eventually, I watched him leave. He kissed her goodbye at the door, a long kiss. She stood there in the doorway, smiling, watching him walk to his car. Then she closed the door and disappeared from the frame. I don't remember driving home that night. I must have. I remember walking through the front door. Sarah was in the kitchen making dinner. She turned around and smiled at me like nothing had happened. "Hey, babe, how was your day?" I looked at her. Her hair was down, still a little damp from another shower. She was wearing the sweater I bought her for Christmas. She looked so normal, so familiar, like the woman I'd known for half my life. "It was fine," I said. My voice sounded strange, distant. "How was yours?" "Exhausting," she said, turning back to the stove. "We were so understaffed today, I barely had time to breathe." She lied so easily, so smoothly, like it was nothing. I wanted to scream. I wanted to grab her by the shoulders and demand the truth, but I didn't. I just stood there, nodding, pretending I believed her. If stories like this speak to you, subscribe to the channel for more real-life emotional journeys. I promise I don't hold anything back. I didn't sleep that night. I lay next to her in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to her breathe. She fell asleep within minutes, like always, peaceful, unbothered. I kept replaying what I saw, over and over. The way she touched him, the way she smiled, the way she kissed him. Who was he? How long had this been going on? Did she love him? Did she ever really love me? The next morning, I couldn't stop myself. I checked the cameras again. I told myself I wouldn't. I told myself I'd talk to her, ask her directly, give her a chance to explain. But I didn't. Instead, I became obsessed. Every day I'd check, sometimes multiple times a day. I'd watch her come home from work on the days I wasn't there. Most of the time she was alone, but not always. He came back 3 days later. This time I was ready. I watched from my office, pretending to work while the camera feed played on my second monitor. She let him in. They didn't waste time. Within minutes, they were on the couch again, closer than before. I watched every second. I don't know why. Maybe I was punishing myself. Maybe I needed proof. Maybe I just couldn't look away. I started recognizing patterns. He'd come over on her days off, always in the afternoon, never stayed longer than 2 hours. She'd walk him to the door, kiss him goodbye, and then she'd clean up, fluff the couch cushions, straighten the throw blanket, erase the evidence. Then she'd go about her day like nothing happened. And when I came home, she'd greet me with a smile, ask about my day, make dinner, curl up next to me on that same couch and watch TV. I started wondering if I was losing my mind. There were moments, late at night, when I'd look at her sleeping beside me and think, maybe I imagined it all. Maybe I was being paranoid. Maybe I was the problem. But then I'd check the cameras again, and there it was, the proof, undeniable. I didn't tell anyone, not my friends, not my family. I couldn't. How do you explain something like this? How do you say, I've been watching my wife cheat on me through our security cameras for 2 weeks and I haven't said anything? They think I was crazy. Maybe I was. I thought about confronting her 1,000 times. I'd rehearse it in my head. I'd imagined what I'd say, how she'd react. Sometimes I imagined her breaking down, begging for forgiveness. Sometimes I imagined her cold, indifferent, telling me she didn't love me anymore. But I never did it. I just kept watching. One night, she asked me if something was wrong. We were sitting at the dinner table, and I'd barely touched my food. I was staring at my plate, lost in thought, replaying that afternoon's footage. She reached across the table and put her hand on mine. "You've been so distant lately," she said softly. "Are you okay?" I looked up at her. Her eyes were full of concern, genuine concern. Or at least, it looked genuine. "I'm fine. Just work stuff. Stressful project." She squeezed my hand. You know you can talk to me, right? About anything." I almost laughed. The irony was suffocating. "I know," I said. She smiled, leaned over and kissed my forehead. "I love you." "I love you too," I said. And I meant it. That was the worst part. I still loved her, even knowing what she was doing, even watching her betray me over and over again. I still loved her. It was a Tuesday afternoon when everything changed. I was sitting in my car outside a client's office, waiting for a meeting to start. I opened the app, force of habit at that point. I wasn't even thinking about it. The living room was empty, but then I heard something, a notification, motion detected in the bedroom. The bedroom? They'd never gone upstairs before. My stomach dropped. I switched to the bedroom camera, and there they were, on our bed, the bed Sarah and I had shared for over a decade. I turned off my phone. I couldn't watch. Not that. I had limits, apparently. Boundaries I didn't know I had until I crossed them. I sat there in my car, shaking. My breath came in short, shallow gasps. I felt like I was drowning. That was it. That was the moment I couldn't pretend anymore. I canceled my meeting, sent a quick email, some excuse about a family emergency. Then I drove. I didn't go home. I couldn't. I just drove. No destination, no plan, just driving. I ended up at a park, some random park on the edge of town I'd never been to before. I parked and walked to a bench overlooking a pond, sat there for hours, watching the water, watching the light change as the sun went down. I thought about everything, our entire relationship, from the beginning, the first time we met at a friend's party sophomore year, the way she laughed at my terrible jokes, the way she looked at me, the first time we said, "I love you," our wedding day, the promises we made. Had any of it been real? Or had I been living in a fantasy this whole time? My phone buzzed. A text from Sarah. "Where are you? Dinner's ready." I stared at the message. 3 words. So casual. So normal. I didn't respond. Another text. "Are you okay?" Then another. "You're scaring me. Please answer." I turned off my phone. I stayed at that park until it was dark, until the cold seeped through my jacket and I couldn't feel my fingers anymore. Then I drove to a hotel, checked in, sat on the edge of the bed in a room that smelled like industrial detergent, and stared at the wall. I didn't cry. I thought I would, but I didn't. I just felt empty. Around midnight, I turned my phone back on. 17 missed calls, 12 text messages. I didn't read them. I opened the smart home app one last time. Sarah was sitting on the couch, her phone in her hand. She looked worried, kept checking her phone, typing, waiting. The living room lights were all on. She was wearing my old college hoodie, the one she always wore when she was anxious. I watched her for a few minutes. She looked small, alone. Good, I thought. Let her worry. Let her worry. Then I closed the app, deleted it from my phone. I was done watching. I went home the next morning. Sarah was in the kitchen when I walked in. She looked like she hadn't slept. Her eyes were red, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. She stood up the second she saw me. "Where were you? I was so worried. I almost called the police." "You know," I said. She stopped. "You know what?" "I know about him." The color drained from her face. Silence. Long, heavy silence. "I don't," she started. "Don't," I said. My voice was calm, too calm. "Don't lie to me anymore. I know." She opened her mouth, closed it. Her hands were shaking. "How long?" I asked. She looked down. 6 months. 6 months? Half a year? All those late shifts, all those showers, all those smiles and kisses and I love yous. Who is he? Someone from the hospital. It just happened. I didn't mean for it to. It just happened, I repeated. 6 months. That's a long time for something to just happen. She was crying now. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking. I was confused. I felt invisible, like we were roommates, not a couple. And he made me feel seen again. I know that's not an excuse. I know, but I'm sorry. I stood there, listening, watching her cry. Part of me wanted to comfort her. Old habits. 11 years of being the person she turned to. But I couldn't. I've been watching you, I said quietly. She looked up, confused. The cameras. I saw everything. For weeks, I watched you let him into our house. I watched you lie to me, face every single day. I watched you kiss him. I watched you... I couldn't finish. Her face crumbled. You watched? Every day. Why didn't you say anything? I don't know, I said, and I meant it. I honestly don't know. We stood there in our kitchen, two strangers who used to know everything about each other. What happens now? She whispered. I looked at her, really looked at her, the woman I'd loved since I was 17, the woman I thought I'd grow old with. I don't know, I said again, and I didn't. Like this video if this story touched something inside you. Share it with someone who might need to hear it, and leave a comment. I read every single one. The next few days were strange. We moved around each other like ghosts. She slept in the guest room. I stayed in our bedroom, though it didn't feel like ours anymore. Nothing did. I thought about leaving, packing a bag, walking out, never looking back. It would have been easier in some ways, a clean break, but I didn't. I thought about forgiving her. People do that, right? Marriages survive infidelity, therapy, communication, hard work. It's possible. But every time I looked at her, I saw those camera feeds. I couldn't unsee them. We finally talked, really talked, about a week later. She told me everything. His name was Derek. He was a physical therapist at her hospital. They met in the cafeteria. Started as just friendly conversation, then coffee, then more. She said it wasn't about me, that I hadn't done anything wrong. She said she was broken, had been for a while, and she made a terrible choice. She cried a lot, said she'd ended, that she already had, blocked his number, promised she'd never see him again. I asked her if she loved him. She hesitated, then nodded. That hurt more than anything else. But I love you too, she said quickly. I never stopped loving you. I know that doesn't make sense, but it's true. Maybe it was true. Maybe you can love two people at once. I don't know. I'm not sure it mattered. I asked her what she wanted. She want us, she said. I want to fix this. I want to be better for you, for us. I didn't answer right away because I didn't know what I wanted. I wanted to go back in time. I wanted to not install those cameras. I wanted to not see what I saw. I wanted to live in ignorance, in the version of my life where my wife loved only me and our marriage was solid. But I couldn't. We decided to try. I don't know why. Maybe because 11 years felt like too much to throw away. Maybe because part of me still hoped we could find our way back to each other. Maybe because I was scared of what life looked like without her. We started therapy, sat in a small office with beige walls and talked to a woman named Dr. Brennan who asked us hard questions and gave us homework, communication exercises, trust-building activities. It felt ridiculous at first. clinical, like we were broken toys someone was trying to glue together. But we tried. Sarah stopped working the extra shifts. She came home every day at the same time. She'd text me updates, send me pictures, check in, trying to prove she was where she said she was. I hated that. Hated that our relationship had become surveillance and proof. But I needed it. I couldn't trust her without it. I uninstalled the cameras. That was Dr. Brennan's idea. She said the cameras were a symbol, that as long as they were there, I'd always be watching, always waiting for her to fail again. She said I had to choose to trust her, or this would never work. So I took them down, one by one, packed them in a box, put them in the garage. It felt terrifying, like I was losing control, but also freeing. Slowly, things started to shift. We talked more. Real conversations, not just surface-level check-ins. She told me how lonely she'd felt, how the long hours and different schedules had made her feel like we were just living parallel lives. How she convinced herself I didn't notice her anymore. And I told her I hadn't. Not really, that I'd been coasting, taking her for granted, assuming she'd always be there, always be mine, without putting in the work. We were both to blame, in different ways. That didn't excuse what she did, but it gave me context, understanding. And understanding, I learned, is the first step toward forgiveness. Not that forgiveness came easy. There were bad days, days I'd look at her and feel nothing but anger. Days I'd imagine Derek's face and want to scream. Days I'd lie awake at night replaying those camera feeds, wondering if I was an idiot for staying. But there were good days too. Days where we'd laugh over something stupid. Days where she'd reach for my hand and it didn't feel forced. Days where I'd catch her looking at me the way she used to, back when we were kids who didn't know how hard marriage could be. Those days kept me going. It's been 8 months now. We're not the same. We never will be. That version of us, the innocent, trusting version, is gone. But maybe we're building something new, something stronger, something that can survive the weight of what happened. I still think about it, probably always will. The betrayal doesn't just disappear because you decide to move forward. It lives in you, quiet and persistent, a scar that aches when the weather changes. But I've learned to carry it. Sarah has too. She carries the guilt. I see it sometimes in the way she looks at me when she thinks I'm not paying attention. She's trying so hard to make up for it. Maybe too hard, but I appreciate the effort. I don't know if we'll make it. That's the truth. Some days I think we will. Some days I'm not sure. But we're trying, and that has to count for something. I've stopped looking for guarantees, stopped needing to know how the story ends, because the truth is, nobody knows. Not in marriage, not in love, not in life. You just wake up every day and make a choice to stay or to go, to forgive or to hold on, to trust again or to let fear win. I'm choosing to stay, for now, and she's choosing to earn that choice every single day. Maybe that's enough. There's something I haven't told her. Sometimes late at night, I still think about those cameras, about reinstalling them just to check, just to be sure. I haven't, and I won't, because I know what that would mean. It would mean I'd already decided this was doomed, that I was just waiting for proof. And I'm not anymore. But the thought is there, a whisper in the back of my mind, a reminder that trust, once broken, is never quite the same. I've accepted that. It's part of the package now, part of who we are. We're not a fairy tale. We're not a romance movie where the music swells and everything is magically fixed. We're just two people who hurt each other, who are trying to do better, who are learning that love isn't just a feeling, it's a decision, and sometimes it's a hard one. I don't regret installing those cameras. Not really. As painful as it was, they showed me the truth. And the truth, no matter how ugly, is always better than a beautiful lie. But I do regret what I lost. The version of us that existed before I opened that app. The innocence, the certainty, the belief that we were unbreakable. We weren't. And that's okay, because nothing is. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening, for staying with me through all of this. I know it's messy. I know it's not the kind of story with a clean ending tied up in a bow, but real life rarely is. I don't have all the answers. I don't know if Sarah and I will celebrate our 15th anniversary or if we'll end up signing divorce papers next year. I don't know if I'll ever fully trust her again or if she'll ever fully forgive herself. What I do know is this: I'm still here. We're still here. And that means something. Maybe it means we're strong. Maybe it means we're stubborn. Maybe it means we're just too scared to let go. I don't know, but I'm okay with not knowing. Because life is uncertain. Love is uncertain. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is stay in the uncertainty and see what happens. So that's what I'm doing. One day at a time, one choice at a time. And if you're going through something similar, if you're standing at a crossroads wondering which way to go, I can't tell you the answer. Nobody can. But I can tell you this: whatever you choose, make sure it's your choice. Not what you think you should do or what someone else wants you to do. Yours. Because you're the one who has to live with it. If this story meant something to you, do me a favor. Subscribe to the channel, share this video with someone who might need to hear it, and leave a comment. Tell me your story, or just tell me you are here. I read every single one, and knowing I'm not alone in this, it helps. Thank you for listening, and whatever happens next, I'll keep going, because that's all any of us can do.